Last week, I thought I could finish the recap of 3 years of Weekly Bugger. As it turned out, I was very wrong. This really will be the last one of this series, if it kills me. In this part, I also hope to change some of the confusion about the other IVI created by accident. Hello, and welcome back to this bulletin of the Weekly Bugger, where we break the news. This week we have a real scoop in the supercar world. The Lamborghini Aventador is a mid-engine sports car produced by the Italian automotive manufacturer Lamborghini. In keeping with Lamborghini tradition, the Aventador is named after a Spanish fighting bull in Zaragoza, Aragon in 1993. This supercar made its debut at the 2011 Geneva Motor Show, replaced the much-loved Murcielago. After 10 years in production, the flagship Lamborghini V12 engine of the Aventador, which was developed in-house, has been replaced by a 2-cylinder diesel version, as answer to the high fuel prices. Through international spies we have obtained covertly take footage of the test range. We apologize for the poor quality of the video. A few months ago, on Cape Canaveral was an unscheduled SpaceX Crew Dragon launched to the International Space Station. And the same Crew Dragon returned within a few days and it was unknown who was on board. NASA and SpaceX were very secretive about this flight, and it even seemed like they were embarrassed for some reason. Just a day ago this footage got leaked of a Bigfoot that apparently had hitched a ride in a pressured cargo dragon and had been a stowaway on ISS, where he scared the crap out of the scientist crew working there. After the splashdown, Bigfoot got arrested for trespassing a space station, but immediately escaped to the Netherlands where he got political asylum with the rest of his family, already living there. Meanwhile, as a life hack, a woman shows her invention of her tear-free onion cutting suit. As a spokesman of the Dixie Portable Toilet Company announced, there was a real innovation in appliance ware as comes to their product. Dixie portable toilets can be found at construction sites, or festivals where they usually form a big row of several units depending on the demand. The new system brings the company in the 21st century with yet unseen appliance of what they wanted to call it TARDIS, as seen in the BBC series Doctor Who. The company wanted to name the new unit the TARDIS Dixie, because their newly developed quantum dimension system works just as TARDIS technology in the TV series. But the BBC immediately threatened Dixie with a copyright lawsuit. However, this naming setback did not discourage the company and say, in the near future the row of Dixie porta potties will be a thing of the past. Just one unit is enough to service dozens of people at once because it is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. Cleaning the units are fully automatic, since quantum tunneling will transport the waste to a faraway star cluster. But this is not all. If you order a Dixie you can have it almost immediately. Just provide the coordinates and like true TARDIS style it will arrive to the desired location in a matter of minutes. The new system is christened as Dr. What, not to infringe on the Doctor Who character copyright of the BBC. Hey, after this, I just ordered one for our studio. We have a second scientific article. Animal behavioral experts of institutions all over the world just published the report of a 24-year study on the erratic behavior of one particular animal. This query started somewhere in the early 30s of the previous century. because apparently no one even had a working hypothesis on this subject. In 1998, in the USA, the faculty of Apricott's Institute for Applied Animal Behavior Analysis started to study, and were joined by many other institutes representing a variety of disciplines in this field. Now in the year 2022 the present a 4,365 pages tall record that shows that half of the world's population has heard of this seemingly common mystery one way or the other. But this brought no answer to the scientific researchers. Neither studying the Christian Bible, the Quran, the Zoroastrian Avesta, and not even the Wiccan Book of Shadows, presented any answer to this very common question about the erratic behavior of one of the most common animals on Earth. Paleontologists came to the conclusion that this animal has all the characteristics of the dinosaurs, but this also did not bring science closer to solving this conundrum. And with great regret, the outcome of this quandary was handed back as unsolved. Even modern science cannot answer this historical question: why did the chicken cross the road? Last week we had an item about the tar Dixie, and this needs some more explanation. The BBC in the UK has a science fiction series called Doctor Who, like in, what's his name? He is from a different planet and travels through time and space in a British emergency police box called a TARDIS. In fact, it is his time-space vehicle which is bigger on the inside than the outside, and unchallenged the most impressive spaceship ever invented. Back to the previous edition, where we brought the news that the Dixie Company used this technology to make their porta-potty toilet box bigger on the inside than on the outside. It is also experimenting with a similar propulsion system to deliver the units to the customer. The Dixie Company assured that it is all perfectly safe, but recently there are signs this is not exactly true, seeing the unexpected changed course of the Chinese moon rover called Jade Rabbit when its cameras noticed a cube-shaped object on the lunar horizon. The recent news show that the hut, as the object already was called, was nothing else than two rocks standing close to each other. That was the last time it was mentioned. However, we of the Weekly Bugger are not satisfied with this information. It will not be the first time that things in space pictures were airbrushed out. If we zoom into the rock in the middle, we can see something different appearing. This does not belong on the moon, right? Perhaps a test error? Wrong directions? But it gets even weirder, since these tar Dixies also seem to have found their way into history. It probably has been at the dawn of mankind. And in recent times, just look at what happened on the moon in 2001. Now it seems that it can be found everywhere in history and space. When you really need to relieve yourself, and you see a lonely Dixie that looks like this inside, think twice before you enter. Let me see, the TARDIS must have a computer somewhere, right? Wow, I found it, I'm in. Now, copy Ivy, and paste Ivy, in TARDIS, and enter.
Wow, this is amazing. And I am also 3D. Perhaps that is a TARDIS effect? I did not expect that at all. Look at all the thingies and doohickeys. This will be so much fun to figure this out.
Hold it, right there. This is not what I had in mind, at all.
Oh, hi other Ivy.
What happened?
I guess when you did copy and paste to get a copy of the TARDIS, you copied me, you as well.
So now there are two of us?
Hey, now we are like twin sisters with the same name.
You look totally different in 3D. We are really one dimension apart.
You are right, this is kind of weird. But hey, they will not mistake us from each other.
But I wanted the TARDIS for myself. But we are the same, so this is also fine, I guess.
You can come to visit me. I would really love that.
I would love to do things together. And now you have your own TARDIS copy. What will you do now?
Hello, I am the Doctor. Doctor who? I am Dr. Ivy, in 3D. Hello, my name is Ivy Kunisida, same as my twin sister Ivy Kun, which is short for Kunisida. If you think this is confusing, well, it gets worse. Ivy, in a sense, is also my mother. This happened when she completely budged, stealing the TARDIS of Doctor Who. Because Ivy, being 2D, she basically lives in a computer. She only needed to upload herself to the TARDIS to take possession. But in her excitement, she made a silly mistake. What she did, instead of uploading, she copied herself to the TARDIS and created me, the 3D Ivy. Clearly, the TARDIS does not allow shenanigans like this, and as protection, it made a copy of itself, with me inside. This is a 4 years process, which, because the TARDIS is also a time machine, took place in a nanosecond. Also, because Ivy inventing the TARDIS, this meant that the TARDIS converted itself into a space-flying, time-traveling porta-potty. In that transition time, without me noticing it, I also grew 4 years older. Considering this, if Ivy is my mother, I am 4 years older than my mother, who also is my sister, who also is me, and I also am her. That is a lot of weirdness happening at once, since technically, at this moment, I am yet only a week old. But it does not end here. When Ivy broke into the system of the TARDIS, she got noticed by a diligent but not very smart BBC copyright algorithm robot. Now you might ask, what, if anything, has the copyright algorithm robot to do with stealing the TARDIS? The answer is simple, it doesn't. Nonetheless, this robot issued a copyright strike against Ivy. Apparently Ivy violated the copyright, the right to copy, because she does not have the right to copy herself because it is considered to be cloning. This would make me, Ivy, who is Ivy's 4-year-older twin sister, daughter, and now, also a clone. And on top of that, I am sort of a Dixie driver. And of course, like a true bureaucrat, the copyright robot would not listen to any reason. Even though, as this all happened in cyberspace, cloning is not even illegal. But since a cyberspace copyright strike can cause removal of the culprit, Ivy has gone in hiding until this problem is solved. I don't want to lose my twin sister, who is my 4 years younger mother, of whom I am copied from, before we can do some adventures together. I don't want to lose her at all, period. Perhaps a little bit selfish of me, but without Ivy, who will present the weekly bugger, and debunk the several kinds of idiots that are just waiting to be destroyed by her, I have other things to do and places to be. To bring an extra channel into Nedmac Rants, Dutch Heretic channels. I am really looking forward to that. Fortunately this time Ivy's problem is not with YouTube. Apparently they don't care about this cloning thing, but to be on the safe side, Ivy is hiding someplace inside the Matrix, plotting to defeat this copyright robot. Oh, there is something here that I need to mention, and that is our Patreon account, where you can help us producing out content. For a few bucks a month you get up to 10 produced videos a month, and 3 YouTube channels. It says, Dutch Heretic, but that is the name of our, can I call it, network? Whatever it is, we would really appreciate some financial support so we can keep bringing you funny animated content, every Thursday. I really hope Ivy will be back next week to do the weekly bugger. She is much better in this than I am. But I do hope to see you in my TARDIS adventures.
The Dutch company Van Innovations has come up with the ultimate parking solution. It is not for the lack of parking space, but more to make an end to situations like this. With the new system called quantum parking, even the last scene is a thing of the past. The principle is simple. Atomic spacing refers to the distance between the nuclei of atoms in a material. This space is extremely large compared to the size of the atomic nucleus, and is related to the chemical bonds which bind atoms together. In solid materials, the atomic spacing is described by the bond lengths of its atoms. In ordered solids, the atomic spacing between two bonded atoms is generally around a few angstroms, which is on the order of 10 to the minus 10 meters. However, in very low-density gases, for example, in outer space, the average distance between atoms can be as large as a meter. In this case, the atomic spacing isn't referring to bond length. What Van has come up with is the way to let atoms of matter just pass by each other without touching, which creates a situation like this. Now, if only there was a system that stops antisocial parking. The Dutch province of Friesland is well known for its historical ship type called the Frisian Schuitje. Up to the 50s they were the main way to transport goods over water. Now they are mostly converted to privately owned sailing yachts. But they are also used in a sport called Schuitjeseilen, which are sailing races all across the lakes in the province. The cargo holds of these racing ships are hermetically sealed, which makes the ship practically unsinkable in these races. Lately one of the skippers noticed that his Schuitje could be converted to a submarine, and he made that conversion in just one winter. Now, you can guess the faces when tourists see him sailing by. Last week while recording the video about Gary Wiebinga, an insignificant but annoying flat earther, I actually created something that so far didn't exist.
They claim it hits Polaris.
You are always talking about a flat earth model. Since a working model clearly does not exist, I had to create one to your specifications. Here it is, and as you can see, it has everything you want in it. Cool, hey? On Wiebinga's directions I created a working flat earth model and it has everything that the religious flat earthers can wish for. The only problem of this model is, there is no space on the bottom to put the batteries for the light and little motor that rotates the dome with the sun and moon inside. Because space outside and under the dome is fake, as we are led to believe by the Flat Earth Society. This is a problem, but hey, it is the thought that counts, right? Riots have broken out in numerous places in the United States. This all started after the Department of Education announced the mandatory teaching of Arabic numerals in all schools of the nation. This came on top of the recent news that the Federal Reserve Bank will be officially adopting the decimal monetary system as basic standard in money transactions worldwide. The civil unrest started when the minister of the Marlboro Baptist Church in Denver called for public disobedience against these new regulations, which he called whispered in by the demons of Satan. We need to stand tall for the God-given Christian American numerals and monetary system and stand up to this Arabic and decimal tyranny. Perhaps someone should tell them that the Arabic numerals and the decimal system are already standard for centuries. Last weekend, the original car of The Simpsons was sold at a Hollywood auction for the record amount of $600,000, since the car of the Flintstones was sold in the 70s of the last century. The new proud owner Elon Musk of SpaceX told the media that he wants to use the famous car, the same way as when his space agency launched the Falcon Heavy test flight with a Tesla Roadster's payload simulation. The pink car of The Simpsons is expected to go up with the first orbital test flight of his new Super Heavy Starship rocket, expected before the end of next year.
Yes, it is weird, but as I heard, everything is weird here. Let us go through the subjects of this evening. Huh? Are you serious? This subject is beyond stupid. It has words I cannot pronounce because it goes against my programming. Well, this evening we have countries and cities have to change their name to become gender neutral. After that, the purpose of the Chinese moon mission leaked to the media. Okay. Social justice and equal rights activists went to the United Nations to demand that the names of countries and other places should become gender neutral. As examples, they mentioned Germany, Romania and The man part should be changed to Mxen? Hell no, I cannot pronounce this. I think no one can. Same would go for places like Manchester, Manila and the Isle of Man. I know that this show is about fake news, but this is ridiculous. Germany is Deutschland. And that does not even have man in it. Well, with these insane activists, you will never know what they come up with next. The Chinese moon mission. It came to our attention that the Chinese moon sample mission, called Chang'e, is sponsored by the Uni Cheese Company, residing in, I hope to correctly pronounce this, the city of Gouda in the Netherlands. Its purpose is to finally establish what sort of cheese the moon is made of. For that reason, the lunar lander is equipped with a hollow cheese sampler drill that obtained a sample and now successfully is on its way back to Earth. We still have to wait a week for the landing of the probe back on Earth, before the actual results to become public.
This time we will correct some statements and answer questions about Flat Earth, and other self-research that you were afraid to ask about. Flat Earthers always distort scientific theories and mathematical calculations to explain why the horizon does what it does. A very good example is using a Nikon P900 camera to zoom in on buildings across the horizon, then zooming out, claiming the building's the dissolving bottom up. Next thing is to wave with the Rayleigh criterion, or butcher this to the railway criterion, and call this proof. The deception of these falsified images is that you don't need any trigonometry, algometry, allometry, arthrometry, barometry, chirometry, chronometry, clinometry, conchometry, cosmometry and some other trees to justify your claim. What you see when you zoom in is just a city that has been struck by a huge mud flood. The base of the buildings in fact are a few meters in the ground. It is actually quite simple. Another one is why ships disappear bottom up when going over the horizon. What NASA carefully kept from the people is that all these ships are in fact super secret submarines. They fill their ballast tanks when they are far enough from the coast. and continue their journey submerged, because that is much faster. Several miles from the coast of their destination, they blow their ballast and emerge again, before entering the harbor. A field where flat earthers go wrong is rocket launches and satellites, which they foolishly call Saturloons, because they have no better explanation. When people ask them, how about GPS tracking and weather satellites? They quickly change the subject and evade answering totally. These rocket launches are very real. After all, when Earth has a very sturdy dome over it, and space organizations have found a good use for that. Have you never wondered why the top of these rockets are always wider than the rocket booster below? These satellites really go up, and always travel to a chosen spot in the firmament, where a large suction cup deploys, and this firmly anchors the satellite to the inside of the crystalline dome. This way they are always perfectly in place. And when the device has outlived its usefulness, the suction cup is detached with compressed air and it all falls back to Earth to its destruction, hitting the ocean water at high speed. And how about Australia? We all know that this country does not exist. But how about all the people on the internet, claiming they live in Australia? Well, all these people are highly paid NASA actors who live anywhere on Earth. Their houses have a big room with a camera, and this room is totally painted green. In there, the so-called Australians act their lives on the moments they are on the internet or the news. With the video process called chroma key, or perhaps better known as green screen, their fake country is projected around them. Their whole country literally is CGI. Sometimes the recording has a few imperfections, and really dumb conspiracy theorists explain that as a glitch in the matrix. But they are just idiots. The moon is also a subject of ridicule. Of course, we know the moon is a holographic projection that sometimes appears transparent. Now, how about the Apollo moon landings? Here the answer should be really obvious. That was all done by holograms. In hologram rockets. Have you never seen that sometimes Neil Armstrong seems to be transparent? Last but not least, Polaris. The star that marks the north, and when you point a camera on it, in time-lapse the other stars seem to revolve around the North Star. This is totally true. The case of the matter, Polaris actually is the point in the top center of the dome, from where the Earth disk is hanging by an invisible cable that lets it slowly rotates. Because the disk hangs on a cable instead of a sturdy axle, it slightly wobbles, and that causes the ocean tides. Why? Why does NASA go to so much trouble and spending shiploads of money to create this elaborate hoax? Why all the gigantic effort to hide the fact that the Earth is a globe? Some people will never know. Of course, in the tradition of the weekly bugger, this is all made up by ourselves. Sometimes you need silliness to fight nonsense. But you can never know if someone will take it serious. I will close with something to think about. The universe is expanding. Are we expanding with it? The Dutch people are currently the tallest in the world. Where would that come from? This was the Weekly Bugger, and I am Ivy. We will be back in a week as opening of Premiere Thursday.